Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. Family Law Talk. Presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. Stange Law Firm is a multi-state family law firm. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. We have an interesting topic today. The topic is court date questions, and this episode today is based on an article on our blog, FamilyLawHeadquarters.com, dated March 28, 2025, and the title of that article is What to Know Before a Court Date. So as a follow-up to the episode today, go on over to our blog and read this article for more information on this topic. But let's go ahead and jump on in. When there's a court date in a divorce or family law matter, obviously it's important. Those who have no legal background oftentimes have lots of questions about the court date, right? They start spinning, they start thinking, they start contemplating, they're wondering what's going to happen and what they need to know coming into the court date. Okay, so this is common, this is normal, and any non-lawyer or anybody who doesn't have a legal background is going to be here. So this is you, don't feel bad, this is common. Court dates are stressful for a lot of individuals. Court dates bring uncertainty. Obviously, court dates can cause people to become nervous and anxious, and they can worry, okay? So there's lots of questions individuals can have coming into a court date, but here's some of the most common ones that I've heard over the course of time, and I wanted to cover them because these are good questions to ask an attorney coming into a court date in a divorce or family law matter, all right? So the first one is, what type of court date is this, right? There's lots of different court dates that can be set in a divorce or family law matter, okay? It could be a trial, like the final trial in a case, and obviously a trial is very important. That's where there's evidence, there's testimony. At the conclusion of a trial, then the judge or commissioner is going to make a decision on the case itself, okay? There can be other hearings that are evidentiary hearings. So they're not a trial, but it's an evidentiary hearing. These can be PDL court dates called pedente light, where the court determines custody and child support and other matters while the case is pending, okay? Some jurisdictions use different terminology for it. So it could be a temporary custody hearing. It could be called a temp hearing or temps hearing. It's going to vary based on what state and locality you're in. Okay, these are obviously very important types of court dates because it can determine how things are going to work while the case is pending. Okay, there are other types of court dates like pretrial conferences, status conferences. Could be a settlement conference. It could be some other type of motion date where there's not testimony. Okay, it could be a motion to compel or a motion for guardian ad litem. There are lots of other possibilities as well. So knowing the type of court date is a big key. All right, if it's a trial or an evidentiary hearing, obviously that can require a party to testify, right? So parties got to be very prepared for that. But if it's another type of court date where they're not going to have to testify and it's the lawyer doing the work, then it's a lot less stress on the party because they don't have to perform in the courtroom. Sometimes they just have to be there to observe, but they don't have to do anything, okay? So question number one is, what type of court date and am I going to have to testify? Very important. All right. Question two, which is, do I need to appear for the court date? Okay. Some court dates, a party has to show up to court, right? Sometimes they just have to be present. Maybe the judge wants them there. In theory, that way, the case theoretically could settle, right? So they've got settlement authority because the parties are there. Sometimes the judge wants the parties there. That way they can sign temporary custody agreements or something like that. Okay, but knowing whether a party has to be there or not is very important. There's some court dates, particularly the non-testimonial motion court dates, where sometimes a party doesn't have to show up to court. But look, when in doubt, show up to court. But if a court date's been set, you definitely want to talk to your attorney, find out whether you need to be there, and if you need to be there, then you need to be there. Otherwise, a judge could take offense to it. So it might entail taking a personal day or a vacation day of work. If you've got kids, getting childcare, like if the kids aren't in school, it could be summer vacation, or the kids aren't school age, and getting childcare for the kids. That way you can attend. But it's very important to know whether you need to be there. All right. The third question, which is if you've got to be in court, how do you get to the courthouse? Okay, this can seem obvious, maybe a little bit mundane, but these kinds of details can stress a party out. So what's the address of the courthouse? And not only that, where do you park? In certain locations, this is easy. Maybe it's a courthouse square and you can park on the courthouse square, but in other jurisdictions, you might have to pay to park, and you're going to want to know where you can pay to park. It's a huge key. All right. And then other questions are, once you get to court, where do you go? Do you go in the courtroom when you get there? Maybe you sit outside on a chair or a bench outside of the courtroom, or maybe there's a conference room where you can go in and wait for your attorney. I mean, knowing the answers to these questions are huge. Okay, this is going to be different in different jurisdictions for different cases. In some cases, you're going to go in the courtroom. In some cases, you're going to sit outside or maybe go in a conference room or something like that at the courthouse, but you need to know. Otherwise, you're going to have more stress coming to the court date. All right? I kind of alluded to this one already, but the fourth question is, are you going to have to testify? All right? If you're going to have to testify, then preparation is really vital. All right? So if you're going to have to testify, it's almost always advisable to meet with your lawyer in advance of the court date. That way you're prepared in terms of what types of questions your lawyer might ask you, in terms of what type of questions the other lawyer or the guardian ad litem might ask you, or maybe even the judge, but being prepared. For most individuals, right, they're not used to being in the courthouse, they're not used to being in court. That causes somebody to be stressed already. Some individuals might be better on their feet. They think quickly on their feet. Some people can be very stressed out, and then they can be at a loss for their words. They can stutter and stammer. They can be nervous, jittery, you name it. And so meeting your lawyer in advance if you're going to testify is a huge key. And I'd almost always advise a client to do that, or at a minimum have a Zoom meeting or do a telephone call. Be prepared. You don't want to go on the witness stand and not be in any way prepared for what's coming. All right. The fifth question is, what issues are before the court at the court date, right? Knowing what the court can address or will address and what the court can't address and won't address is very important. And look, for non-lawyers, this can be hard to understand, but certain court dates put certain issues before the court, and other issues, might be out there, but it's not before the court on that court date. So the court's not going to address it. So knowing coming into the court date what's before the judge, what's before the court is a great thing, because then your expectations are set in terms of what the issues are in play, and you're going to have a better idea and less frustration walking out of that court date in terms of what did or didn't happen, okay? So knowing the issues at hand. It's a good question for your lawyer. All right? Another important question is, how should you dress in court? All right? This might seem insignificant, okay, but some judges can be much more concerned with etiquette and dress code than others, right? Some can get really uptight about this, can be offended by it. Some judges might be more laid back about it, and it doesn't bug them as much. But knowing how you should dress in court at a particular courtroom before a particular judge is a huge key. When in doubt, I've always told people overdressing is better than underdressing. So if you're not sure, dress a little bit nicer than you think. But I think it's huge to know what a particular judge expects, and if your lawyer has been before this judge before, is familiar with this judge, hopefully they can give you a little better idea. But when in doubt, dress nicer than you think you ought to. All right. Another important question, and really the last one I have on my list, is this, which is, what's the demeanor and the personality of the crucial players in the case? Okay? So some judges, guardian ad litems, opposing attorneys can be easier to deal with or harder to deal with. And knowing this coming into the court date is just huge. because then you know what to expect, and it can help guide a party in terms of how to behave, and it can help a party have more clarity in terms of what to expect, okay? So having a conversation with your attorney about this can be huge. You know, what's the judge like? What's the guardian ad litem like? What's the other attorney like? Are they easy to deal with? Are they hard to deal with? Are they aggressive in court? Are they a little bit more laid back and passive? Knowing these details coming into the court day can be a huge thing, all right? Obviously, there's lots of other questions individuals might have about their specific case coming into a court date, but again, from my vantage point, having a conversation with the attorney that's representing you, getting answers to these questions is huge, and then getting answers to other questions you might have might be equally as important. You don't want to come into the court date, not be prepared, not know what to expect, and not have answers to your questions. You're going to be less stressed, less worried, less anxious, less jittery if you have a better idea of how court is going to play itself out. Obviously, no attorney can predict with certainty what's going to happen. Sometimes parties go to court and something out of left field, something unpredictable happens, but to the extent you can get a better idea and surprises can be as minimal as possible, that can be a good thing for most parties going into a court date. All right, so that's the topic today. As a follow-up to the episode today, go on over to my blog, familylawheadquarters.com, read the article titled What to Know Before a Court Date. The date of the article is March 28, 2025. This will give you more information on this topic, but thanks for tuning in today. Stay tuned to our next episode coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Neither the Supreme Court of Missouri or Illinois reviews or approves certifying organizations or specialist designations. The information you obtained in this podcast is not, nor is it intended to be, legal advice. You should consult an attorney for advice regarding your individual situation. We invite you to contact us and welcome your calls, letters, and electronic mail. Contacting us does not create an attorney-client relationship. Please do not send any confidential information to us until such time as an attorney-client relationship has been established. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits. Kirk Stange is responsible for the content. Headquarters, Office, 120 South Central Avenue, Suite 450, Clayton, Missouri, 63105. Kirk Stange is licensed in Missouri, Illinois, and Kansas.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.